Yeah. This is the Legacy League. Tell me where your legacy be. Yeah.
Welcome to the Summer 2026 Connecticut Finals Recap Show. And I'm just going to start off hot. We have maybe one of the most special guests we've ever had in our post-game history in the Connecticut side of things. We have the commish himself, looks like $1 million, three-time champ. We'll get into all that first, but Joey, just how we doing, how we feeling?
It's a great intro. I'm feeling great. Listen, it's back-to-back undefeated champions. I mean, I did my prep before, for both teams. You never want to jinx it, but that went as well, as we planned it, right? If it was going to be rigged, that's how you'd rig it. No, listen, that was two really good teams, but I really think it kind of came down to one team just kind of knew what to expect and had that early on, right? I'm really excited to break the game down with you guys, and we'll go more into the game, but that, and Kyle's been there, right? And shout out Kyle Davis, who did everything he could to try to be like, guys, come on, like this is one game for everything, like let's fucking go here. And the team just didn't, they didn't have it. It was kind of I wonder what percentage was Syndicate didn't have it. It really wasn't their night. It was TMC's night. And then what percentage was talent, just the depth that TMC has and the depth of players that played well versus the depth of players for the Syndicate that, again, really didn't play their best in the finals. But more about that in a second. Guys, we've been doing the postgame, us three in some version since 2017, 2018. Guys, this is crazy. So it's a throwback. This is how you end the 10-year anniversary TMC championship, potential Joey Zocco 3-point champion again. I'll be competing Thursday night when you guys preview All-Star night. And then we got the weekly rebound and the commish back. This is great. So I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, no, I could have said it better myself. I'll kick it over to speaking of the weekly rebound, I'll kick it over to Connor. Connor, quick, before we get into the game, how we feeling? Another year, TMC back on top.
TMC's back on top. Shout out to Joey. Congratulations to Run TMC. I'm still full from the amount of crow that I ate on Thursday night. It was rough for your boy out here who was obviously siding with the Syndicate in that game. But yeah, I mean, shout out to this trio that we got right here to break this whole game down. I love getting those memories on our Facebook posts from back in the day, like 8 years ago today, and it's a video of us at InSports at probably somewhat close to midnight breaking down the Legacy League's basketball game. So it's good to be back, man. And I'm excited to break down the game. I don't know how excited I am to relive it, but it's going to be fun. I'm ready for it.
Well, shout out Stranger Danger.
Yes.
You want to throw back really quick? Shout out Blue Devils, Greg Horne. Speaking of eating crow, and then I'll get out of the way. I mean, the amount of times, and of course, I've rewatched the post game interview, which was 5 minutes long. During it, I was like, they're still going, but it was awesome for Pratt to be ready. Which what do you expect from a veteran? How many titles does he have? More than 6, right?
6 now.
6 now, yeah.
So sorry for not knowing that, Pratt. But for him at the start of that interview. To be like, I bet you are, Connor, and call you out with the grit, in the most creative way. It was hilarious. So it was a very good interview.
It was hysterical. And I was even laughing at it, and I'm the butt of the joke. So if you ever bet against Pratt and it doesn't go well for you, you kind of know what's coming, and I was ready for it. It still hurts me, but I was ready for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of betting against Pratt, there were some people who bet against Pratt on a Thursday night in InSports, and that was not the right call. If you put the 401k on Syndicate, you are homeless right now because Run TMC beat the Syndicate 104-82. This was a rematch of, I think the past 2 seasons, it was probably the games of the year in the regular season. I mean, we have iconic buzzer beaters from this series. This is just one of those series where it seems like the Syndicate just can't get over the hump. I wasn't there. So first, I'm going to go to Joey because he is the one, obviously, with the third ring. And then Connor, you can take over after. What happened to this one, boys?
Yeah, so, it wouldn't be, I think we've already gone too long without shouting out, Freedom Braids Finals MVP Quan Jackson, who, has taken a different role on a lot of teams since his no limit days. So shout out. I actually talked to John Rowland today. I was trying to get him back as a defending 3-point champ. He's unable to make it, and it's always cool to, he was a staple in the league. So shout out John Rowland on TMC Championship Podcast night. But Quan Jackson on that No Limit team, was one of the better players on that team. And then comes back with the Flint Tropics and is with a Mike Bizzuto, is with a Dom Migliaro in his prime, is with a Nick Japs, and is kind of like playing a role which we saw at its absolute best Thursday night in the finals, where, when the game was still kind of in the balance and Syndicate was trying to make a run time and time again, it was Quan Jackson with an assist. I think he had 8 of them. It was Quan Jackson going to the basket and just throwing it down on people and not taking no for an answer. And then, Greg, we said it before Connor even got here, his ability to make threes are just backbreaking. Because when you have a team with Reggie Stewart and Joe Carter, who's been so good from 3, Reggie Stewart just does it nonstop, and he'll shoot them no matter what he shot, and you always think they're going in. Then Joe Carter has had flames coming out of his ass the past month, right? Just like knocking down threes. So that continued early in the game. And then as somebody watching and as the opponent, you're like, all right, Quan's going to take a 3. This is great. Like you kind of exhale for half a second. Like it's not Reggie, it's not Joe Carter, and then he's making threes in those big moments. And he only had 3, I'm pretty sure. 3 or 4, but 3. But they were all, backbreakers. They were all run stoppers. They were all contested, and then just that added layer to his game. So shout out Quan Jackson. He deserves it. I said it to him during that, trophy presentation. He hasn't lost we're approaching 18 months in the Legacy League. So since February 20th, 2025 in the semis, and they were undefeated that season. Before that was the Flint Tropics. So he's a large number and 1 loss in his last, 30, 40 games. But and it was funny. Connor was trying to help me figure out finals MVP, and I'll get it to Connor, who, helped with that. And was like, oh, Joe Carter had another 30 points, and, Reggie had close to 30 again. And, shout out Connor for correctly, because when the other team even kind of agrees that the MVP was, correctly chosen as Quan Jackson, you got it right. And it isn't always the top scorer, so you kind of have to understand the game. But shout out to Connor for being like, I think it should be Quan. Like, I know, he's the 3rd highest scorer on the team, but the way he impacted that game was impressive. And, he's done it in different versions on different teams. I think this was his best game of the season. And I think that's an easy thing to say, Connor, because he's taken a lesser role. He's played defense on the other team's best player when he's needed it, and like kind of let up some of the scoring stuff. He's still, I was looking at his stats for All-Star. He's still averaged around 20 points a game. So it's not like he's, just passing up shots, but this was a dominant performance on both ends by Quan Jackson that, sums up the game for Run TMC, Connor.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a tale as old as time in the sport of basketball, right? The big 3. If you think about some of the best big 3s of all time. Like I think of, whether it's Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. Rodman's your 3rd best player. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an all-timer, right? You think of Steph, Clay, and KD. I mean, Clay Thompson's your 3rd best player. It's a guy who scored like 60 points, dribbling the ball like 8 times in a game. I'm a Celtics fan, right? So I'll always go back to KG, Pierce, and Ray Allen. If your 3rd best player is on the court is an all-time player, and in Legacy League's terms, Shaquan Jackson really is an all-time player. And that infamous Twitch stream on Wednesday night that everyone's been talking about, Quan Jackson was in the chat, and I think we actually figured out that he was like 49-2 in his Legacy League's career or something like that. He's just unbelievable, and it's really not all about him per se. It's just about the impact that he has on winning basketball. He's not selfish, right? There's games where Shaquan can go out there and score 9 and his team won by 30. And there's other times that you can go out there and he'll score 30 and his team won by 30. So he's never going to demand the basketball. He's always going to play within the flow of the game. So yeah, we were talking earlier before the show, and obviously I was taking notes throughout the game. So, we'll go through the first quarter and what I had in this first quarter. The very first note I wrote down was Shaquan Jackson blow by dunks. That's his patented move. You go up there on the perimeter, you usually get these guards that are, pretty aggressive at trying to steal the ball on ball handlers like Shaquan Jackson. It's a bad idea. He's so strong, and his leaping ability. There's very few guys. I mean, we have a lot of guys that get up there, But I always like compared Shaquan's jumping ability to like a long jumper. He leaps from so far away from the basket that it only takes him one or two dribbles past the 3-point line. And who wants to get put on a poster when we got 20 cameras all over the court? Like, it's just a bad place to be. That started off right away. That was what got TMC going, and that got Pratt going. Once you start putting together some highlights early in the game, and you wake up that TMC bench, shout out to the days when Eric Langston was there, it would make it even worse. But they still got a lot of charisma on that bench, and you saw that whole team start to come to life. The next note I have was Quan 3-pointers, which Joey already mentioned. He said it perfectly, where it's like you live with those when you're guarding Shaquan Jackson. You live with those when you're guarding Joe Carter. You couldn't live with those on Thursday night. They were killing the Syndicate from 3-point range. And then obviously the next thing I had was Joe Carter 3-pointers, and then right after that was Reggie Stewart 3-pointers. It was a barrage, right? It started quick. They scored 31 points in the first quarter. It was the highest scoring quarter for any team during that game. They came out of the gates firing, and they put the Syndicate behind the 8 ball right away. I wrote 16-point lead, Shaquan Jackson show. And, that was the next thing I wrote down, because it started to feel like his impact was just taking over. You're trying to focus on Joe shooting, you're trying to focus on Reggie shooting, and they're killing you. And then you just got Shaquan having, like Joey said, probably his best game of the entire year. It's almost an impossible recipe to stop. And with all three of those guys, they can score at all three levels of the defense. They can all shoot, they can all hit a mid-range, and they can all get to the basket and put it down on you. So it's so hard to guard that when they're that versatile on offense. And the one note that I did have in the first quarter for the Syndicate was Saya working very hard, only source of consistent offense. And I wrote that note down right before Kyle Davis probably checked into the game with about 3 minutes left in the first quarter, which, let's be real, that was not the move.
I hate that rotation thing. Not to cut you off real quick, but I hate that Syndicate does that rotation shit. I know what they're trying to do, but KD needs to be in the game with way earlier.
KD finally figured it out last week. KD would be the first one to tell you that this wasn't a KD season. We know the standard that he holds himself to, that we hold him to. He's one of the best players in this league from a talent perspective. He's done it all. His resume is, he's got every little, achievement that you can pretty much think of. He didn't have his best year, but he had a game last week where he finally started to put it together. He started to look like himself. And I don't know, if I'm the manager of the Syndicate, shout out to Lex, who does an unbelievable job. He knows I love him. I just would have done a little bit differently there. I would have said, this is a Finals MVP. He just had his best game of the year in the semis, or a best stretch of basketball that I've seen him play in a while in the semis. I'm rolling him into the starting lineup, because if I'm going to fight fire, I got to fight it with fire. You got to have a Kyle Davis going out there matching Reggie Stewart. You got to have a Saya Tate out there matching Joe Carter. You got to have all your best players. And, I understand the rotation thing and bringing them off the bench, balancing the roster. In a matchup like this where it's so lopsided with talent on the top end of things, you really need to have your best guys out there. He finally came in, and we had 9 minutes left in the first half, so this is very early into the second quarter. Kyle Davis had 16 points. He probably checked in with 3 minutes. So I'll toss it over to you guys before we get into the rest of it. But like we kind of mentioned, it was the TMC Big Three, Saya Tate, and Kyle Davis on the Syndicate. Not much else helped, and it kind of stayed like that throughout the most of this game.
Well, Greg, Saya Tate was awesome. And so, again, it's also kind of sad that it took us this long to get to him, because Kyle Davis and Saya Tate were leading the way for the Syndicate. And, of course, it's easy to say afterwards, I would have done this, you should have put him in. But, once it's 12-5, I don't know, once TMC has flames coming out of everywhere, it's all right, we're going to need to try to get some defense and not to throw shade at all. Really, the only player on that roster who's had success in the finals is Kyle Davis. And I understand There's other good players on that team. And, not that the Legacy Leagues is completely different than other basketball. They have a lot of talent. But it is different in the sense of the atmosphere, the pace of the game, and Kyle Davis has done it in the finals, winning finals MVP in his first finals, and did everything on both ends. And so, even matchup wise, and Greg, this is where kind of coming in, it gets interesting, because, if Saya was on Reggie and was working hard for sure, Reggie was still, it's hard to get over a screen twice, right? When you have David Armstrong and Joe Carter setting back-to-back screens, like one of them's going to get you, right? And give Reggie just enough room to do whatever he wants, and get downhill. It's like, all right, so if we're going to have to switch everything. If Kyle can be in as well on defense with Isaiah Tate to try to start on Reggie and Quan, because that kind of matchup works. Kyle on Reggie has been a thing we've seen before, and then, Saya is strong enough to stay with a Quan Jackson. It's like, all right, even if we got a switch, we're still okay, but let's get those two. And then you kind of have to get some big guys in there when it is Joe Carter and David Armstrong. But for Kyle to come in so late is tough, with how he's been playing. And I think it was some of the defense. It's, again, what percentage of it was TMC making shots no matter who was guarding them, and what percentage of it was, maybe just not having enough defensive oomph to match up, or even enough size. And sometimes it just comes down to size, where Joe Carter is so big and strong, and then nope, David Armstrong's also going to be big and strong. Like Jaquan Bromell showed up late. That didn't help, right? But he was there in enough time to kind of have an impact. So it wasn't like he got there in the third quarter. But they were going to start him if he wasn't there. And I looked around and he wasn't there. So Eric Moore got the nod. And so it just wasn't enough really all over. I think defensively, and their shots weren't falling. But Greg, I think it was the matchups, which a lot of teams face trouble with against Run TMC, but I think it was the matchups, Greg, that kind of started them off on the wrong foot.
No, yeah, that's something that me and Connor have talked about this a lot. Jaquan Bromell, shout out him. Such a great guy. Like, one of the rare guys. Eric Moore's another one. Like, Don Migliaro was like a good example of it. Reggie always interacts with interns. Like, they always dap the interns up. They're always so friendly. Like, Jaquan's one of the best dunkers, one of the best transition players. Connor always says it, like, incredible transition player. The Syndicate do not have a real big guy. They don't. And I brought it up in the post game before. Me and Connor have talked about it before. If you watched Get Money play Run TMC, that's what a big guy looks like against Joe Carter. Saquon Williams. Like, it's Jaquan Bromell is phenomenal. Syndicate they need a guy that's going to be a Dave Armstrong that's a perfect example of what they need. They need the guy that's going to do I'm going to do a throwback. Brad Seaman on Team Moose. He's a player who would be perfect. Someone who's going to do the dirty work, who doesn't need to score 20 points or 15 or get 6 shots. He's going to just do the dirty work. And Joey said it best. TMC is one of these teams, and I know some of the teams, some of the newer teams, get on me sometimes. They think we're glazing TMC. They always say it. And Joey put it best. It's not that Legacy is like the NBA or anything, but it is. We've seen it so many times before. And this Run TMC team is in that category with the Monstars and the Shocker Cities and the Flint runs of. It is not as easy as it looks. Everyone comes into this league and then they make the good team, and then you're like, oh, we got this. We're going to beat TMC. And it is not easy when you have Reggie, Pratt, Shaquan, Joe, and then next thing you know, you see Will Hudson. You're like, what's Will going to do? And Will Hudson comes in the game, and I know I wasn't there, but he gives you 4 points, and he's not putting up bad shots. He's not turning the ball over. I always say it to the interns. They always ask me before you guys would play in the regular season, you think Syndicate can win? And I know Lex would be mad at me and Mags and all them would be mad at me. And I said, no, I don't think they can win. And it's just because if you're going to beat this Run TMC team, it's the same with those other great teams in this league. You got to play smart. You have to play consistently smart throughout the game. And it's the same reason that, a good example is why Get Money played TMC, I think, a little better, is Get Money has so much experience. I went over it last week with Connor, Joey. If you take out the season Tyron got injured, they lost in the quarterfinals. The other 5 seasons, it was like brutal semifinals by 2, finals by 1. They have so much experience, and I just think this was a great learning lesson for the Syndicate, but I couldn't agree more with what you said, Joey. I just had to go on that rant because I think Lex, he'll change the team a little bit, but if they could get another big guy in there, because if Joe Carter's coming back, you Get Money had Nas and Saquon. That's perfect. You have the big man duo, and then you can have your other supplemental wing players. Like Molly is a great wing player. Jaquan's a great wing player. But we can get into. I feel like it's a good time to get into the second quarter because I want to hear more about this game. But I had to talk about the Syndicate big man thing because I think that's such a good point.
Well, it's versatility and pace, right? And so
Yep.
when the pace gets out of hand, then it's even worse.
Yep.
But then it's versatility, because you can talk about the big three for Run TMC, but all right, we're playing a team like Get Money that's bigger. So David Armstrong's going to need to, have a bigger role today. All right, we're playing a team like the Syndicate. Well, finals aside, because the finals are always different, but we're playing a team like the Syndicate. It can be a Pratt who can match up enough with kind of some of their wings. It can be a Will Hudson who can get his way with his size. It can be a Miles Raymond who, again, is super strong and can fit into a game like this with the Syndicate. So, we just named the whole TMC roster. It's about that versatility. But the trump card, and it's so funny, of course, Reggie Stewart's awesome. The trump card is always size, which is always consistent. Right, and we see it in the other leagues too, right? Whether it's Mass League has a whole bunch of size, like, oh, who's gonna win? It's like, oh, this team shoots it really well. It's like, cool. What if they have a cold night? I know what's always gonna be there: big guys and rebounding and dunks. Yep. Like, we can count on that from these certain guys because they're massive. So yeah, Connor, I think it was more of the same in the second quarter.
It pretty much was.
This is Joey's dream show.
This is Joey's dream show. We're doing a Bill Simmons breakdown of a Run TMC championship run. Joey's in his glories right now. So we started off, I said at the beginning of the second quarter, Kyle Davis already had 16 points. And then the next note, guys, I have is 5-point game with 5 minutes left in the first half. All right, so let's not forget that this was a blowout from start to finish. There was a big run by the Syndicate there, Joey. It looks like you want to chime in real quick, but I want to kind of hear what your take was while that was happening. Did you think it was slipping away, or were you confident that it was just their run, it was going to come to an end, and you guys would get back into it?
By the look on Greg's face, I'll speak for both of us. So yeah, it was a huge run, right? And that's the type of response that a team on the verge of getting this done is going to do, right? The game's never over. It's a long game. You're going to make your run. Having to fight back isn't ideal, but that was they had crappy body language in the first quarter. Somebody called a timeout, and somebody was bitching that their team took a timeout. It's like, dude, it's
Eric Moore.
In the first quarter. Who cares? I mean, what are you, saving them for Christmas? Like, you can't take the timeouts with you anyway. Whatever. Like, get over that. But so then for them as a team to come together, really behind Kyle Davis and Sia Tate, for them to come together and cut into that lead, like look like the Syndicate, be like, this is what the game could be, and get it to 5. That's huge for them. I'm sure you have more notes about what happened after that, but there's a big difference, and this is in the NBA, this is in other basketball games, there's a big difference to get back in the game and then to kind of get control of the game. And they got you have to do one before the other, right? You have to kind of tie it before you can try to build on a lead and grab control of the game. I don't think, of course I'm biased, right? I don't think TMC ever lost control of the game, right? Even when it got to 5, the body language was never gone. That was almost expected from a team that has won, was it 5 for Reggie now, 6 for Pratt, right? Like, they're like, all right, this is what happens in the finals, right? This is they're always playing a good team. They're going to make a run. They have good players. Like, we need to respond. And damn it, they responded.
They did respond. And the very next note I have was actually, in my opinion, one of the most important shots in this game. It's a 5-point game. TMC has the ball now. Pratt came down, shot his first shot of the night, and it was an absolute heat check like he had just made 10 in a row. It's the classic 2 dribbles. He's still 4 or 5 feet behind the 3-point line. There's somebody in his face. I wrote Pratt in all caps, heat check, first shot. And then I wrote in parentheses and 1 because the defender was literally in his face. Pratt basically came down on him, was on his butt. He had no idea the shot even went in because he was on the floor. And it was pure nylon from Pratt. And that made it an 8-point game. I mean,
Pratt got there late.
Yeah.
I don't think Pratt warmed up. That was his warm-up shot, which is even crazier.
That was his warm-up shot, and it brings it back to 8 points. And there's a big difference just looking at the scoreboard. 5 points just for some reason feels so much closer than 8, because 8 is one more layup to being back into double digits again, where 5 is like we're one layup away from being a one-score game. You know what I mean? So that was just a huge shot by Pratt. It never got closer than that ever again for the rest of this game. Right when it just felt like the momentum started to swing towards the Syndicate, a huge shot from a veteran player like Pratt, who that's kind of his role on this team, right? It's not going to be to fill up the scores every single night. It's just to chip away with big shots during big moments. And that was just signature Pratt right there. a few notes later, like I said, it's back to 11 with 4 minutes left. Joe Carter threes. I mean, this is when Joe Carter started to go off. I mean, these 35 points have to come at some point. We've talked a lot about Shaquan and Reggie. It was once that lead started to really expand, is when Joe Carter really just said, all right, I'm slamming the door on this game. And Reggie was obviously chiming in the whole time. Shaquan, even Dave Armstrong. Dave Armstrong, we just talked about. Joey says size never slumps, and it's so true. 8 rebounds, 7 points, 3 for 3 shooting, and he made a 3-pointer. When's the last time we saw David Armstrong make a 3-pointer? If you just want a sign that everything's going right for your team, and even though it was pretty much when the game was all wrapped up, it just goes to show that it was just TMC's night. And then I wrote Kyle Davis keeping the Syndicate alive, 51-42 at half, 9-point lead for TMC. TMC raging at refs. I think Dave Armstrong was freaking out on the referees, and I remember the refs were like, Dave, you're winning. And even Pratt was like, Dave, please, come on. Like, those it's little things like that where, you got to keep the lid on it because your team is doing well. You are having success. You don't want a side distraction to derail things. And sure enough, I was wondering, how is this going to impact? Is this going to snap their focus going into the second half? Is this a good thing for Syndicate? I mean, 9 points, the game's not over yet, guys. It's still very much alive. I mean, it was up to 16 early in that game. So technically the Syndicate did a good job of just making it, a lead that they can, work with. It's manageable going into that second half. But man, guys, the second half, I'll throw it to you guys real quick, but 8-0 run to start the second half by Joe Carter. You quickly see that 9-point lead blow up to a 17-point lead. And, pretty much from there, it was just blowout time. But yeah, that was it pretty much.
If you're the Syndicate, right, and of course you don't want to be trailing at halftime, but after everything that happened in that first half, we talked about the threes, we talked about Quan Jackson getting it going, we talked about everything. Being mad at your team for taking a timeout, whatever. You're down 9. And the team that's winning is spending all of halftime, arguing, talking, whatever, with the refs, trying to control. All right, this is all right. We'll take this, right? You kind of build, your own team morale there. The issue with that is that the 51 points in one half, and so it kind of goes back to that defense because what I was looking up was we had in the Massachusetts League, the game went in overtime in the finals. And the final score after overtime was 55-53. Okay, in the finals. And that was with an extra 2 minutes, right? In Rhode Island, that game went in overtime the same week. And of course, I was at all of these games. That game in overtime was 60-53 total.
Wow.
In overtime. And we have 51 points. So how much of that is Run TMC making their shots no matter who's on the other side? But at some point, it comes down to defense. And I think when you fall behind, it's harder to focus on that. But that was something I think that was missed by the Syndicate because you score 42 in the half, you should be kind of in a tied game. You got to be able to hold somebody to under 50 points in a half in the finals, right? Slow the game down. I don't know, figure something out. That's a lot of points when it's supposed to be a race to 60, right? Whatever the line is, race to 60, race to 70. That's my line when it comes to the playoffs, right? Usually it's 35-30 at half. And it's first team to 60 wins, right? Which we didn't even get to 60 in the finals in some of these games. And so to have 50 points at the half, Greg, is speaks to the struggles on defense for the Syndicate for whatever reason.
No, yeah. I mean, even look at last year's finals. I'm thinking of just past finals where, most of the games, even in our higher scoring finals, I'm looking when you guys lost to Flint, 59-45. Even Yagoville, shout out Yagoville boys, they didn't play much defense. They only gave up 85 points. That's a really good point, and I keep harping back to it. The interns, they always talk to me and Connor, throughout the night, whenever they're doing HD or whatever, and they just ask questions about the league. And they always are why you pick TMC, why TMC, and it's exactly the things you're saying. It's the little things. It's not that Syndicate they're not talented. They're phenomenal at basketball. Kyle Davis has more talent in his pinky than I have in my whole body, if we're talking how good we are at basketball. Sia Tate has been a revelation in this league. He is such a great player. I told Connor after week 2, I went up to him, I'm like, you got to watch this guy play. He plays, him and Kyle play, and I love guys like this. Reggie's the same way, Shaquan, They just want to win. I appreciate how hard they're trying. They really want it. They care. They put effort into it. Saya especially wants to play defense. In the Rents Do game, when we did the All-Star draft and everything, he was telling Joey Canty, I'm going to guard you. And he did guard him, and he played great defense on Joey Canty. So, like, I love this Syndicate team. It's just... It just always seems like in each of these, as we break it down by quarter, it seems like each quarter it's just like Joey said. Anytime TMC, they're up, it's 5-point lead, 6-point lead. Joe Carter hits a few threes. Speaking of Joe Carter really quick, Joe Carter came into this league and he shot, I think, 28% from three last year. His career three-point percentage after this year is 43%. Wow. He shot 50% from three on the season and he took 55 threes. There's no more. I don't want to see teams leaving him open from three. You got to give it up. Give the dream up. Joe Carter can shoot threes. It's done. I'm over this, like, let's let Joe Carter shoot theory. Well, it's done.
You almost still, because of how he plays, are okay with him taking the threes because the alternative is worse, right? Unless you are probably Saquon Williams, Nas Pryor, David Armstrong switches teams, right? You can probably name the guys that can
He's going to get three down low. Bit.
So, it's almost, you kind of shake his hand and, if you're going to make the threes, like, that's a wrap, which, a lot of great players have that said about them, right? That was LeBron early in his career, right? And we're not comparing anyone to LeBron James, but it's similar in the sense of defensively, you kind of have to choose what you're okay losing to. And sometimes there's no good choice.
Yeah, there's never an easy choice Carter. When it comes to trying to figure him out, man. Yeah. We talked about this last week. I asked him during the post-game interview. I said, Joe, looked like the game plan for the Syndicate was to let you shoot threes tonight. And he looked at me and goes, yeah, and how'd that go? That's just how it is, right? I mean, there really is no defending a guy like Joe Carter in legacy leagues. The Euro step that he has, as slow as it is completely unguardable. It's an anomaly. Once he hits that Euro, he's in the lane. Get out of his way. I mean, there's plenty of times he doesn't even dunk it. He just kind of like gets near the basket and he just kind of like puts it up there and just drops it in. Like he doesn't even have to get all the way to the rim. You could stop him short of getting to the point where he can flush it. And he's talented enough and skilled enough with his touch that he'll still find a way to finish easily, right? It doesn't even look like he's trying half the time. And that's kind of where it went. And we'll go right into the third quarter because let's be real, guys. The third quarter was pretty much the last quarter of this game. I had, 8-0 run by Joe Carter, right? We talked about that. Starts the second half. He turns that 9-point lead into a 17-point lead. Then I said TMC's pulling away up 19, 7 minutes left in the third. And then I just wrote in parentheses next to that Joe Reggie Paul. Because let's be real, it's just those three guys was just consistently producing on offensive possessions time and time again. They just could not find an answer. They could not string together stops on the Syndicate side of things. Then I got 20-point biggest lead of the game. And then I wrote for the Syndicate, Kyle Davis, Saya Tate, only ones who are doing any scoring. And now when I look at the scorecard, it is true. I mean, Jaquan Vermel did have 13 on 6 of 8, but, Saya had 26, Kyle had 25. They each shot over 60% from the field. There just wasn't a whole lot of offensive production outside of that. And I'll be honest, guys, when I picked the Syndicate to win this game, I bet on guys like Mikey Fuller. I bet on guys like Eric Moore, and I bet on guys like Jason Hernandez coming off the bench and having a high-scoring game. If you do look at the TMC bench, and we talked about the background of this Run TMC team and how they do have a really good bench of players and veterans, but outside of maybe Pratt, I don't think a lot of those guys are going to scare you going into that game. Like, I don't think you're going to be like, oh, Will Hudson might go off for 25 tonight. Shout out Will Hudson, multiple-time All-Star. He's had a prime in this league that his legacy is written in stone. We love Will Hudson. But there's just not a lot of guys on TMC's bench that are going to scare you from a scoring perspective. But the Syndicate have guys like that. I mean, Jason Hernandez, we talked about him last week, how he's had a revelation of a season as a role player on this team. He's had plenty of big games in his career. He's had plenty of great games recently. He was an All-Star as recently as last season, and he's been playing great basketball coming into this game. Mikey Fuller is another All-Star who's averaged 20 points per game in this season or in this league, and he just had his best game of the year last year in the semis. He absolutely killed them last week. So Eric Moore, another guy, an All-Star MVP. These guys have the potential. They have the ability to go off. I kind of bet on that. Jason Hernandez had 4 points on 2 of 6. Mikey was 1 of 5 with 3 points, and Eric was 1 of 5 on 2 points. Mikey, I think, made his first 3 of the game, and it was a really nice shot in those early moments. And I'm like, here we go. He's carrying his momentum. He never got it going after that. Eric started this game, I'm pretty sure, and had some big time minutes, but just could not get a rhythm. And that's the type of player that all these players are. They're all rhythm guys. They have to get into a rhythm to get going. And TMC, whether you want to credit them to defense or just say, hey, these guys had a bad game, regardless, they just could not get any flow. And that just left Kyle and Sai as the, two main guys there to really do all the heavy lifting. And it just wasn't going to be enough. You can't beat TMC with 2 players going off. You need your entire team. You need contributions from your bench players. And I got one moment that I thought you guys might like. I wrote down Pratt being a leader, subbing out for Will, quote unquote. They're getting dressed, he said. He looked over and the game was starting to get in blowout territory. He goes, they're getting dressed, Will. You can come in for me. You can come in. He calls Will Hudson into the game. He comes out. I looked over at the Syndicate bench. I think it was Molly Winters over there taking the jersey off or something and getting some comfortable shoes on, because we all looked up at the scoreboard. The game was well over 20 at this point, and TMC was showing no signs of slowing down. That was pretty much it. I didn't really have much notes for the fourth quarter, guys. The fourth quarter was, it was actually TMC won the fourth quarter still 26-23, despite not really playing much defense. So it was just, this third quarter was pivotal. It was everything, because, the game started out in a blowout fashion, but then it kind of shifted towards the Syndicate making it a basketball game. And that third quarter was going to be like determining, how much basketball is there left to be played in this game? Is this third quarter going to get blown open and it's going to be over by the fourth? Or is the Syndicate going to get back in this game and the fourth quarter is going to be showtime, right? That was kind of the question I had. And obviously we know what happened. Run TMC came out guns hot in the third, the same way they came out guns hot in the first. And like Joey mentioned, no adjustments at halftime. The same game plan for the Syndicate, which resulted in the same game plan for Run TMC. Why would they change anything if it's working? They didn't have to. And that's why the score never changed. So just an all-out performance from all your guys, Joey. I know you're proud of them. And they took care of business.
I think that's actually a really good point to there's only so much more to talk about this game, not in any type of way, just we really covered it well. That comes with experience, whether it's players, whether it's trying to be a semi-coach over there. Like, when do you adjust and what exactly can you adjust to? And so sometimes there's limited options where it's like, this is our best chance to win, and if it ain't working, we're kind of cooked. And that wasn't the case for the Syndicate, because Kyle Davis and Saya Tate had great games and were able to have their way offensively, despite TMC understanding that those two were really the only two that were able or had it on Thursday night. And so even with the focus being on them, those two in that third quarter, and even in the second, like, they were the key for the Syndicate. And so beyond that, there really wasn't much of an adjustment. And I don't know what adjustment, I didn't think about this aspect of it, but maybe I'll put Greg on the spot, but I don't know what adjustment, and it's easy for us to say 3 days later, right? This is never like the easy part, because as it's happening so fast and so slow at the same time. The game takes forever, but the game is flying by. You're trying to adjust and see what works, and then it's too late, right? But I don't even know what adjustments they had, because it probably was the substitution pattern and upsetting some people more than they already did. Right, because at that point you probably can't take out Kyle and Saya. I don't care how much they're dragging. You're in. All right, so now the rest of the team kind of has to understand, if for us to have any chance with how things have gone, we kind of have to piece some things around those two, and try to and still keep a big guy in there, still be able to play some defense, still be able to semi-rotate, but figure out who has it and who doesn't. And I think that's really what comes with experience too. And you talk about Pratt coming out, like, it's different, right? It's different when everything's going your way
at that point.
Yeah. But so when things aren't going your way, it's not easy. That's the hardest thing over there to try to figure out, right? Greg, I don't know what options the Syndicate had it, and it's always 2020, right? It's easy for us to have days and the stats and to know how it went, to be like, you should have done this. But I don't really know what their best. I think what they did might have been their best plan of action, and it just wasn't wasn't going to get it done with how well TMC was playing.
Yeah, no, I kind of had a question for you too. I had it written down. That kind of directly leads into like what I was going to ask, because I don't think there's an adjustment they could have made. I just don't think they had the roster that can beat this Run TMC team. They were close. They've gotten close. They've played them great. They're a great team. But I think when it comes down to it, those last 2 minutes of a basketball game, when the things get tight, I just think I'm going to pick Run TMC every time. And, let's be straight up about Syndicate. They've done their thing in this league. It's not easy. Alex Rivera started at the bottom. He didn't win a game his first year. He's gotten to the finals twice now. He's, played championship teams, Run TMC twice. Their hurdle is Run TMC. It's the one hurdle that it's the mountain they cannot climb. And my question is to you two. I'll go to Joey and then Connor. Like, where do they go from here? What do they do at this? How can they find a way to beat Run TMC? Because no offense to Renstu had a phenomenal season. They cooked Renstu. They introduced Renstu, like Joey was talking about experience with Run TMC. It was the experience for the Syndicate in the Renstu game, because that was just a beatdown. So, but whenever they play TMC, you don't get that energy. And I just don't know what they can do.
Yeah, I think, and this is, Renstu is awesome, and I've told you guys the story of how they even had a team in this league, and it was very last minute, and great group of guys, and that's what it's about, guys like that coming together who are all friends like that, and then having that chemistry on the court right away. They didn't. I think I said this to you possibly in week 5 or 6 or 7. The size is going to kill them. And I thought week 1, the size was going to kill them. And they beat Rim Reapers, right? And that team had its own evolution throughout the season. They got by Hoop Dreams, right? Is that who Renstu played? No, it was Rim Reapers again in the 3-6. Sorry.
It was Rim again,
so, again, it was all right, that's still a tough 3-6 matchup because of the size that the Rim Reapers had. And Renstu overcame that largely because of Joey Canty. And so then you get to the semifinals and Saya's like, we're not doing this. if you think without the kind of size that I think is needed, and Renstu has a couple guys who play big, but forget comparing him to TMC size, even just the Syndicate size, I think wore him down a little bit. So then when Saya Tate took out Joey Canty, because it's not easy to do that every game like he did all season. He was great all season. And then you get to the semifinals where it's even more focus on you and more locked in, and everybody's they're early warming up, right? They're putting a game plan together. They're and that's the difference in the playoffs. He didn't have his best game in the semis in large part due to Saya Tate taking on that task and having some success. And then it's all right, now who else on this team is going to be able to keep pace offensively and also defensively? And so that was awesome for the Syndicate to get past that, because that was a big test for them, and that was a big hyped up game for them too. I forgot your question, but I think where the Syndicate goes from here.
They go from here because because I saw Lex post that he's 5 of his players are not coming back. So I'm wondering, who you could obviously not who. It's not like there's a free agent pool, but maybe a wing, maybe a point guard.
Well, yeah. We got the Mike Davis shirt on the Run TMC podcast. It's crazy. It's just the disrespect. We're gonna have that conversation before I go in a minute, because it got really interesting with Reggie and Mike Davis now. And Mike Davis has the T-shirt. He's the GOAT, like the OG GOAT. But we need to lay that out quick, because I thought about that. It's getting interesting. It's getting interesting. That's all, and for a couple different reasons. But for the Syndicate, it's not easy to get to the finals. It's not easy because it's one and done. The league was as deep as it's ever been, which goes back to Reggie's point, because he's doing this in a deeper league than Mike Davis.
This year, yes, but the past few years have been.
I mean, the first season, Mike Davis had his way with, way back.
No, 100%. I think you could argue for Mike as well.
But for the Syndicate, it's figuring out the type of team that you have to have, and it goes back to the Nuggets the Timberwolves putting a team together to beat the Nuggets, and then figuring out it doesn't beat Oklahoma City, right? But the Syndicate knows the type of team that they're going to need if they want to beat Run TMC, and that's the focus clearly. It's getting some size and getting players, this is the hardest part, players who buy into their role. And it's not just about getting the best players, because that's almost too easy. Like, you can be like, hey, come, you're a good player, come play on this team. If everybody wants to be the best player, then the team doesn't work by definition of what a team is, right? And so no team is perfect by any means, but, let's go back to the finals MVP, right? Quan Jackson could have dropped 30 a game and probably won MVP, right? If he wanted to in a regular season at some point. He's like, I'm good, being considered the third best guy, but I'm going to go win all these games and win championships. So have fun. Have fun on your own team. And I'm good over here. And so you have to find players like that who are obviously good, switchable, which is huge in this league. So wings and then some big guys to kind of be bigger. But then it's also about that team chemistry. And that's the hardest part. Guys who want to win. And sometimes it takes going through things like the Syndicate has gone through for players to understand. Like, Jason Hernandez is a great example, right? Shout out one of the OOGs who's been around a long time. Like, I can be an all-star. I can go score 20 a night. Like, I'm good enough to do that, but I'd rather win. And so I'm okay with, I know what I can do. I'm okay with, not being talked about every week on the podcast, maybe not being an all-star this season, like not starting every game, because we're trying to win. That's the hardest part to find. So that's what the off season's for. It's even in all the leagues, it's the same. All rec leagues, it's the same. And then especially in the legacy leagues, it's, you only play 4 guys at a time. And so it's not easy. But yeah, Connor, where does the Syndicate go from here? What do you think?
So you can go a lot of different places, man. I'll be tapped into Lex's streams all throughout the off season. And if I'm not, it's because I didn't get tagged in the post. So usually when Lex is going live, I'm one of the first people to know. So Lex, if you're watching, you better keep me tapped in. I gotta know what's going on with the Syndicate team, man. I've been riding with them and crashing and burning in the finals for the last 2 years now. So now I'm just stuck here. All right. And it's a good place to be stuck because Lex got some things cooking in the kitchen, and Reggie Stewart will never, ever, ever let me on that bandwagon. So, maybe shout out Get Money. Those used to be my boys as well. I used to rock with Get Money a lot, but
Yeah.
I love what Lex did in this league, man. He came in with his cousins, then he branched off, he did his own team, and now he said, you know what, like that didn't work out for me. I got to actually put some more effort. He started recruiting some of the best players in the league. Kyle Davis was a staple on Get Money for multiple seasons. You got to give Lex credit for getting him off that team. Obviously, I think there was some stuff that went down between Kyle and those guys, but as far as I'm concerned, Kyle's coming back for another season for the Syndicate. I don't know what the official word is on Saya Tate. I'd be shocked if Saya's not back. I know him and Lex are really close. You got to try to, if you're Lex, dude, you got to do what you did with Kyle Davis. You got to go try to find another player that might be a little disgruntled on a current situation. Maybe a guy that isn't getting enough minutes or isn't having enough success despite his good minutes. And you gotta try to cherry pick somebody. Maybe go to this TMC roster and see if there's anybody that wants some extra minutes. No, I'm just kidding. I doubt anyone from TMC is gonna switch sides, but this is the missing piece right here, guys. And I'll do whatever I have to get Mike Davis back in this league. We can talk about the GOAT discussion.
Well,
the cows come home.
really quick. Shout out Alex
Yeah.
Rivera too, because everything that he does for the league, and he doesn't even realize that he's doing it, right? But it's people like him who, care and love the league and want to be a part of it. And I'm at 48 minutes in is a good spot to mention Chris Rudzinski, so that's fine. It took us almost an hour. That's fair on the Run TMC
He's carrying
podcast.
Chris's torch.
Yeah, but people like that, right? And there's other people who I'm forgetting, but doing the Twitch streams, just because they want to, right? Being involved and coming. Alex was in the video because he was at the finals when Eric Langston made the 3. This is the Run TMC postgame show. I have to bring it up, right? The first TMC championship. Alex was there. He wasn't in it. He didn't have to be there, right? And he was there watching and wanting to be a part of the league. So shout out Alex. He's and I know that whatever happened this season, nothing, I don't think too bad, but I know he's not happy with how it ended, obviously, and then some of the things throughout the season. But everybody can always improve, including myself. But shout out to Alex, being a part of the league the way he is. It's great. It's people like that make people want to join the league, that make it more than just another rec league on a Thursday night. All the stuff we do helps. And then when other people do stuff like that, it takes it to another level. So shout out to you guys as well before I sign off. But, listen, and then I know it's All-Star time and then we got to get out of here. But Reggie now has 5 titles. And I will do Mike Davis in a second. I have them both ready to go. 5 titles, 3 finals MVPs, the only player to score 3,000 points, 4-time regular season MVP. Yes, he's been in the league many seasons, so you can do that with what you will. 13 All-Star appearances, including this season. 8 All-First Team nominees. That's a lot. Listen, that now we're getting up there because 6 titles for Mike Davis to 4, you're still going to pour the rings out on the table, right? And be like, this is what I did. Mike Davis has 6 championships, 2 MVPs. That's, it's a regular season award, but that's 2 finals MVPs to Reggie's 3. 2-time defensive player of the year, 2-time offensive player of the year. So Mike Davis obviously has done everything. And he has 7 all first teams, so very similar there, and is a 10-time All-Star. So a ton of All-Stars, a ton of everything else. My point is, and I'm not Mike Davis, shout out. We made you a t-shirt, like the GOAT, of course. And I think Reggie would still, it still obviously shows his respect and all that stuff. I'm just saying it's now it's like a conversation. I think before I didn't, that picture was awesome last finals and I loved it because it was just such an iconic photo of those two. And it's just such a cool moment to have been captured, especially during our, as we 10 years and the league has changed so much. But, I think before this season, I wouldn't even utter the words, Mike Davis is the GOAT. And I just wanted to, while I'm here, my one appearance, maybe possibly for a long time, I'm just saying it's close now. Like maybe they're both the GOAT, and that's okay. Like it's close.
I agree with that. I think they're both the GOAT.
Yeah,
very close.
Yeah, no, I think they're both the GOAT. I think that it's if LeBron won 6 rings too. I think that they're such different players. They impact the game in such different ways. And I always tell the interns this, and they probably look at us like we're an old head talking about like old football highlights. I'm like, you guys don't know what it was like. They're like when Mike and Reggie, because they have a competitive spirit. Well, they will go at each other, but then after the game, they'll dap up and they'll go on their way. It's like true competitive spirit at just the highest level, and it's why Connor wants in the league.
The best part about that, because Joey Canty had a great season, and I hope he comes back and continues what he did. But you kind of there was a 50-50 chance that the semifinal wasn't going to go his way because of Sia Tate and how good and you can game plan for kind of one player like that. As his team gets better, it's going to be different. When Reggie and Mike faced off, it was like 95% that we were going to get both of their best games.
Yeah, and
they were going to both perform. And it was going to be a show. Like, it wasn't like, oh, Mike won this one and kind of that's weird. He kind of dominated this one. Like, Reggie didn't have it tonight. What the fuck? Like, no, they both always, and they almost always both have it. But especially when they faced off, you can you would book it. You'd put it in your calendar. You'd make sure you had the live stream ready. Like, you had to be there, man. Like, you knew it was going to be something. And that's that next level. Right, Kyle Davis does that a lot, and he's shown up in a lot of big games, and it's more than just showing up in big games. It's always doing it, and then doing it when you're playing people who are on your level, and there are levels. There are levels to this, but those two, just like you said, when it was must-see TV. It was, and it always delivered. It was, always came through. It was great to see, Connor. You've been
I just want to say one
thing.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing because, and Greg already brought it up kind of a little bit with the Jordan versus LeBron thing, and that's another one, that basketball fans, those are hills that people will die on. This is another one, but for legacy leagues. The only difference is, guys, Jordan and LeBron, and the discussion with that, the whole debate is always, this era, Jordan's era was harder to play in, or Jordan wouldn't be able to shoot threes in this, whatever. They always try to say the era because they never actually had the opportunity to play each other. Mike Davis and Reggie have had a lot of opportunities to play each other. I don't know what the record is off the top of my head, but Mike Davis has the head-to-head. But in Reggie's argument,
it's true.
He has the most recent one, right? So it can go both ways with that. But
Good point.
And then, you can always say, hey, listen, it's a team sport, right? And Joey has always mentioned it just a few seconds ago, how Reggie still performs in those games. It's not like Reggie was the reason why his teams lost a lot of those games against Mike Davis. But, Mike's teams won, and Mike was always the best player with the best performance on the winning team against Reggie Stewart. So that's just kind of the best argument you could make for Mike Davis.
It's true.
Outside of the total ring count. But listen, the longevity matters, and, Reggie's still playing. And, hey, Reggie might be getting up there in age, but he shows no signs of it.
Oof.
And he's still out here playing at his best level of basketball that we've seen him play since when I came into the league, and he's on the Monstars, right? And he was, I didn't really even know how good Reggie Stewart was in that first initial season. I was an intern at Legacy Leagues because they had Greg Langston, and, so I saw, the development of Reggie's game, over the last 10 years or so. And, listen, me and Reggie have a lot of fun banter with one another. But I'll never disrespect him and say that he doesn't have, a spot at the table in terms of, this GOAT discussion. It's quite obvious it's a two-man race right now. It's gotten a lot closer. He's added another big chip to his resume here. That's why I'm calling for the GOAT to come back, man. I need Mike Davis to solidify this. We can't have this nonsense being talked about. Because, if Reggie can really solidify a GOAT argument, I got no more hills to die on. I'm just a dead man as it is. So, but yeah, man, I love these guys. I love them both, man. And it's iconic. And real quick before we let Joey go, and kind of talked about, with building your legacy and everything in this league. It's just so cool that those two guys like that, they stuck around in this league for as long as they did, so that we can even have these discussions, right? And talk about 8-time first team, all team, and all this. Like, it's so cool. Like that's the same thing with like NBA players, that build these long careers and have these incredible resumes, and we can go back and compare and have these insane numbers and accolades to talk about. It's iconic, like Joey said, with that photo and what those guys represented for this league and still represent for this league to this day. I love them both, but you guys know me. I'm on the Mike Davis side for this one until proven wrong, until proven otherwise, and it's not going well recently for me. But I need Mike back in the league. I need Reggie to stay in the league because the league is a better place with them. So shout out to Mike Davis, shout out to Reggie Stewart, man. Two absolute legends in this league.
Well, and it wouldn't be fair to have any type of GOAT conversation without you two guys. So, shout out to you guys.
And you, Joey.
Holding down the league, and thank you. But yeah, bringing the league back was awesome, and a lot of the guys came back, and obviously, it's that community, it's that friendship that kind of keeps everybody coming back. And as much as everybody wants to win, hopefully it's still fun. And I know that, we're preaching to the wrong people. If like Syndicate people are listening, I get it. Like losing is not fun. Trust me. I got it. But it's not supposed to be easy. That's what makes the win like better, right? If it was easy, then who cares, right? And so, but yeah, shout out you guys with the league and everything. But we can't end on that. This is my third ring.
Yep.
Before I go, and 5th straight finals appearance for TMC, 7th overall, which is pretty cool. Back-to-back undefeated champs.
The dynasty.
Yeah, it took long enough, and there's so many. It's funny to think back of, just the different versions of the team and trying different things and getting some of the best players and figuring out that doesn't work because there's only one basketball and all the cliches you can throw in there. And so, it's always better when I can, when I'm there for the finals and my team's in it and we win. Trust me, because we've lost some, and there's been times where we haven't been in it, and it's still obviously, I love the finals, but yeah. For Run TMC to win a couple is fun, and while I'm the only one with a microphone and Chris Radzinski's not here, I'm the best GM the league's ever seen. So there you go.
Let's go, Joey.
This is what it's about.
Let him know.
We'll clip this and we'll send it to him. But Connor.
Hey Joey, I'm just proud to be a teammate of a 3-time champion, former teammate of a 3-time champion.
That's
Shout
right.
out to you, brother.
That's right. Shout out to you. I know.
I got some championship DNA on my resume now.
Well, listen, it might be the year of the threes because we're trying. This is a good segment before I get out of here. I'm trying to win my 3rd 3-point contest in Connecticut. I have 3 overall, so maybe it's already been. Maybe this is it. But I'll be in it. We got some good competition, And All-Star Night is this Thursday. It'll be live on YouTube. Shout out Lux Gang, shout out Freedom Braids. I know that both of those guys will be there. So it's nice to have some of the sponsors there, and they help us make the league happen. And All-Star Night's always fun. It's a lot of work, and so hopefully
Always
everybody
fun,
shows up that you talk about. A lot of work for all of us, a lot of prep on my end for sure, but it's fun. And I know people enjoy it that do show up, so that's what keeps us going with that dunk contest, 3-point contest, and all-star game. So, I'm bowing out. This is it. 3 rings, I'm out. It's an hour of TMC. Go Run TMC.
Let's go.
I like putting the shirt on. Making everybody get all upset. Like I'm part of the team. I mean, I am. I did play. I didn't score this season. I did play. 6 or 7.
Real
minutes.
ones, no
Counts.
GMs are a big thing in Legacy.
Well, I mean, serious, yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I don't think you're kidding.
No.
You're serious when you
I'm
say
not.
that.
Dead serious.
But boys, Run TMC, where we rightfully belong, back to back.
Thanks for getting on, Joe.
Listen, 3 in a row, and then I swear I'm getting out of here. Like Brotherhood did it twice, Monstars did it twice, Shocker twice back to back.
Yep.
There's not really any 3, so this is where now it gets. There's still more to be done.
Wow.
I mean, now listen, the Brotherhood and the
next year.
Monstars had similar players. Like I get it. Like people, I don't think
Same
anybody.
team, though.
I checked.
No,
Yeah,
no one else.
different teams, different names. Nobody's won 3 in a row as a player because Mike Davis missed a season. Like then certain people left. I don't think anybody's won 3 as a player in a row in Connecticut because in Rhode Island that has happened. So that obviously we can compare it that way. But no one in Connecticut has done it. So there's more to be done. There's always more to be done. Always more championships to win. But guys, hopefully one of you picks me for the 3-point contest because you mean it.
Oh, I will, Joe. Don't
because
worry. I got my picks locked in. No spoilers.
Good.
Greg, that's
no
you, baby.
spoilers. All right. What'd you say?
That's on Greg to pick a TMC player right now. I don't think I'm allowed.
Don't worry. I'll be
be
showing love.
There you go. Boys,
Thanks, Joey.
enjoy.
Thanks, Joey. Thanks for getting on.
Appreciate you.
Run
3-time
TMC
champ.
out. That's right.
That's the chant.
Run
That's the
TMC
commish.
out.
That's
The commish, Greg.
Thank God the commish is gone. People at home, aren't I right? All right. No, I'm kidding, Joey. We love you, Joey. But all right, now it's just me and Connor. We're just gonna, it's a long show. We're approaching an hour, so
let's cruise through here,
We'll run
Greg.
through the All-Star real quick. We got the 3-point shootout coming up. So Connor, I'm gonna just share my screen so if you want to see really quick, just for the people can see. We got Joey Zocco, Run TMC, 2-time champ, returning. Then we got Joey Canty from Brent's Stew, Jason Hernandez from the Syndicate, Angelo Diamato from the Snipe Squad. We got Vinny D'Augustine from Rim Reapers, and Devon Pratt from the 3-point shootout team, which Run TMC pretty much does a 3-point shootout when they play. So I mean, Pratt would be a good pick here. Connor, who are you thinking?
Greg, I'm going to go a little bit out on a limb here and pick a rookie in this league to win the 3-point contest. I'm going to stick with the bloodline, my fellow Paisan, Vinny D'Augustine.
Okay.
Come on, Vincenzo, dude. I need you out here, brother. I need some wins on my resume for making some picks. It's been a cold stretch here. But dude, Vinny buckets, dude. I mean, this guy's had a hell of a season, Greg. High volume shooter. He's got great form, great touch. I think a guy like this, because we've seen him in these games, Greg, where he's gone off for like 50, where I just feel like it's a guy that with the type of volume that you get in a competition like this, he's had his best games in it was usually like those games where DC wasn't there, right? And there wasn't a lot of guys on his team, and he was forced to kind of step up and have a big role, was when he was just absolutely killing people. So I think in a competition like that, it kind of fits the bill. Just give him a bunch of reps, man. This guy can absolutely fill it up. So I'm going to go out on a limb there and pick a rookie. But we got some unbelievable veterans. Joey Canty's another one. Despite being a rookie, can absolutely light it up in a competition like this. We know Pratt can. We know Joey can, who's won this thing. All these guys that are in this competition are all in it for a reason, man. They are all snipers. But I'm going to go with Vinny, Greg. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and also who you are rocking with for this competition.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going with Joey Zocco, the king. Now, look, Joey, love you. Sorry, I'm not going with you, Joey. I'm just going to be straight up. I'm going with my guy, Angelo. Talked to Angelo before his last playoff game. Told him I'm picking him for the 3-point contest. He told me, he looked at me and said, I got you. And he's going to get me. He's going to ball. It's an Angelo masterclass. We're both going Italian right now. I mean, hey, I got the Italian. We're both going Italians, which is crazy. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Angelo in this one. And yeah, 3-point contest always fun. Always fun. And it'll be a good one. Joey is a dark horse, though. For the new players in this league, Joey can shoot. So Joey knows these rims. So don't sleep on Joey in this contest. Give Joey a little gas. All right, the slam dunk contest. We got a stacked field. We got people coming, which usually we don't have that many people at the slam dunk contest. We have a lot of people confirmed. So get ready. Hold on to your hats because we got Jacob Morales coming back. He's a 2-time champ from Get Money. We got Jaquan Bromell. He was a Winter 2025 champ. He's on the Syndicate, but that was when he was from Lord's Army. We got Kyle Davis. He won with Get Money. He's also on the Syndicate coming. We got Jalen Edwards from Hoop Dreams. Saya Tate from the Syndicate. Quan Jackson from Run TMC. Fierro Anakapoma. Not that bad, right? Let me know how I did, Fierro. And Taishin McCray is maybe, so I'm going to get rid of him. And if Taishin shows up, I would pick Taishin. But, Taishin's not going, so I don't know, Connor. We got a good little field we're looking at right now. Who are you thinking? This is stacked.
Dude, holy. This field is ridiculous, man.
Someone's got to jump over Joey this year. That would win.
Yeah, that would do some damage. Man, I love Saya Tate, dude. That's my boy. I love Quan Jackson and his ability to leap. Jaquan Bromell has won this thing before. Jake Morales is honestly one of the most creative dunkers that this league's ever seen for these competitions. Kyle Davis has won this competition in the past. Jalen Edwards is an insane athlete. I don't know in terms of the creativity, because all I've seen Jalen do is just run down the court faster than everybody and just throw down one-handed flushes. He has had a couple bodies, but Greg, we always talk about that with these competitions. Even in the NBA, there's like in-game dunking and then there's competition dunking. I feel like Jalen Edwards is a disgusting in-game dunker. I wouldn't pick him to win this competition. Man, dude. I got to go with Jake Morales. Jake is just so creative. He loves these events. I think a lot of these guys come into it just because they're insanely athletic and they can jump out of the gym, and then they kind of get there and they're like, crap, what do I do? You can only because there's multiple rounds you got to remember, right? So it's like you can put together like maybe one or two dunks. Jake just comes in with a bag of different dunks that we haven't seen yet, despite the amount of times he's done this competition. You would think we've seen it all from him. I doubt it. I mean, he's probably on YouTube looking shit up right now and practicing on an 8.5-foot rim as we're speaking. He puts on a show every friggin' time. So, hey, I always give Get Money love somehow, some way, some form on every post-game show I'm pretty much on. So shout out to Get Money. I got Jake Morales winning this event.
Yeah, no, shout out Jake Morales, one of the best dunkers we've ever seen in this league. It's a great pick. I'm going to go Jalen Edwards in this one. I think he's going to pull out something crazy. I think he's got something to prove. I think he, like Connor said, he's a high flyer. I think he's going to get creative. I mean, hey, this is a message to everyone in the contest. Get creative, Get creative out there. Dunk over Joey. Have an intern, I don't know, go get a cupcake at Stop and Shop, blow the candle out. Let's get crazy out there, people. Me and Connor and the judges. I think it'll be me, Connor, and the 3-point champion, and probably Lex. I want to see you guys get creative in this bitch. So I'm going to go with Jalen Edwards. A good sleeper is, I think Fierro is a sleeper, and also Quan Jackson's going to put a show on. And KD, I mean, look, this is stacked. We've got a great field. Got a great field. Then we got Team Canty versus Team Tate for the All-Star game, the main event. I'm going to share my screen, Connor, because I have it updated with who is going, if you want to look real quick.
I can't really see it too well because I'm on my phone, if you don't mind reading off the rosters.
I'll read it for you. So I'll give everyone some All-Star love first, and then I'll let you know who's going. So we got Team Tate for first, and we got Saya Tate leading the way for the Syndicate, his first-time All-Star selection. Reggie Stewart from Run TMC, 13-time All-Star. Jaquan Bromell from the Syndicate, his 4th All-Star appearance, which I feel old that Jaquan's been a 4-time All-Star. It feels like he's kind of new to this league, but just shows how good he is. Tim Case from Snipe Squad, a 3-time All-Star. Angelo Diamato, the Snipe Squad duo, is on Team Tate as well with Jaquan, Reggie, and Saya. Then you got David Crenshaw from the Rim Reapers and Vinny DiAugustine from the Rim Reapers as well, the duo as well. Joe Carter is a maybe, so I just said he's not going to go. Maybe he'll show up if not, but that's the only guy not going for Saya Tate. So Saya Tate is the heavy hitters going. For Team Canty, we got Joey Canty from Ren Stu. He's a first-time All-Star, potential offensive player MVP. You got Kyle Davis from the Syndicate, a 5-time All-Star. I mean, just a beast. Quan Jackson, 4-time All-Star from Run TMC. What a backcourt that is right there. Joey, Kyle, and Quan. Got Trayvon Jones from Lux Gang, a 3-time All-Star. Who could forget Trayvon Jones? Shout out Julian, our sweet prince, who kind of killed us last year with that pick. Then we got Tyler Baptista from the Rim Reapers, 2-time All-Star. Jalen Edwards from Hoop Dreams, his first All-Star appearance. Then we got 4 guys not going for Joey Canty, and this is where it's going to hurt him. Me and Connor have coached this All-Star game many a times. We got Jaden Battle from Hoop Dreams. He's a 2-time All-Star. He can't make it, unfortunately. And the Get Money duo of Saquon Williams and Nas Pryor both cannot make it. They're first-time All-Stars. And then Cam Stipak from Dirty Waters as well. He can't make it. He's a first-time All-Star as well. So with that being said, it's a big, big mismatch now. I'm really worried about the big man matchup for Team Canty. If Joe Carter goes, I'm worried for you, Joe. I'm worried, man. Connor, how we feeling?
Well, dude, I had already picked Saya to win this game when I was assuming rosters were going to be at full strength. Safe to say I'm not changing my pick. It was actually insane when we were doing this draft, Greg. We can kind of talk about it now because,
yeah,
you know, we were kind of hosting a show, but now we're kind of giving our analysis. Reggie Stewart and Joe Carter getting drafted as late as they did may have been the most disrespectful all-star draft selections in the history of this league, maybe in the history of any sporting league that's ever had an all-star draft ever. We're talking about two of the top 3 players in the league, maybe the 2 best players in the league, Greg.
Yeah, I'd argue
you can make an argument the 2 best current players in the league.
Yep.
Somehow got drafted to the same team in the 7th and 8th rounds, or 6th and 7th rounds, whatever it was.
It was late.
Now listen, there was some gamesmanship going on there. It's not because Joey and Saya don't think that those guys are absolute hoopers. I think it's just that they knew that at the time they drafted well. You know, they were both playoff teams with intentions on beating Run TMC, and they were on that kind of fucking timing where it's like, fuck these guys. We're not putting them on my roster because I got bigger plans to beat them in a game that matters more to me than I do right now in terms of putting them on my roster. It just got to the point where Saya was like, shit, like they're there. Like, you know, it's the end of the draft. Like, I'll take them. And now Joey's team kind of falls apart with some no-shows that are going to, you know, unfortunately hurt his chances. But yeah, man, if Saya's team is getting Reggie and Joe coming with the supporting cast that he got in those early parts of the draft, there's no reason why to think that this team's not going to win by a pretty large margin. It's no disrespect to the other players on Joey's team. They're all stars. They're great players for a reason. It just seems like Saya's got the mismatch with size. You know, we've seen Joe Carter just destroy people. We saw him last year, man, that he was incredible for my all-star team. And
screaming at me.
He gave full effort, Greg, the whole time, right? So if you're thinking like Joe Carter is going to go out there and lollygag and half-ass, he's not. If he shows up there, he's showing up to play basketball. You know, he's showing up there to win another game and probably try to win another plaque to add to his trophy case with that all-star MVP. So same thing with Reggie Stewart, man. I mean, that team is just loaded from top to bottom. I just can't see a world where those guys don't come out on top.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think for Team Joey, they got to go 3. They got to go 3 game. They got to get hot from 3. They're going to need Joey to hit 10, KD to have a classic game, Quan just going crazy, and they're going to need everyone stepping up and riding. Sometimes in this game, when you have, they're not going to have 4 guys, so they'll have rotations. Sometimes when you don't have too many, it's easy with the substitutions, you know? Sometimes teams that have too many guys, it kind of gets hard. Like, everyone wants to get in. Like, all these guys are all-stars. Only 4 guys are going to play the last 2 minutes of the game.
Sorry to interrupt you, brother. You probably already mentioned it, but it slipped my mind when you said it. Did you say that KD is playing in this game?
KD will be there for.
So he was a late ad for the replacements? Yeah. I don't remember him being in the draft, right?
Yeah, so just so the people are at home, Joey does, you know, credible commissioner, listens to some of
the same way the pro leagues do.
Yep, does the same thing. He'll add replacement players in. And yeah, KD was a replacement player. He's going to be going. He's on Team Canty. KD, Canty, Quan is a crazy backcourt.
Now, we can't sleep on KD being a replacement player. KD's not a replacement player. He might be this season, but KD figured it out. He played two of his best games of the year in the semis and in the finals. He's probably feeling slighted in his own right that he was a late add to the All-Star game as a guy that can go in there and fill it up for 40 in a game like this. We got to look at KD's resume, Greg. I don't know. I might be mistaken. For some reason, I just have a slight memory that he might be an All-Star MVP. I feel like he's got that on his resume. If he doesn't, I remember games where he had some insane performances in All-Star games. So that's a great little tool that Joey added there at the end for Team Canty.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. That's why I'm going. But I'm going side to Tate's team in this one. I just gonna have to see. But I mean, hey, it's been a pleasure, everyone. I mean, what a post game show this has been. I know we're running long, so hey, and also real quick, shout out Lexus Stream. If we're on Lexus Stream right now. Everyone, I know all of you got Amazon Prime. Look at me right now. I know all of you got Amazon Prime. Hit that sub button. You get a free sub with Twitch. I got you, Lex. Don't worry. But also, hey, look, I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone, all the interns. I want to give a quick shout out to Julian, our camera people, everyone who works so hard. Quick shout out to InSports. Shout out to Ricky, Kev, Ange, all the refs and everyone, man. Like, just everyone who does all the work behind the scenes, the guys who edit the post game, and then especially to Joseph Zocco himself. And to our teams. If it wasn't for you guys, this wouldn't be a thing. And I just appreciate all you guys being good sports, always listening to us, always just, making this legacy family what it is. And also, shout out to Connor, my duo, my partner in crime. It wouldn't be a league if it wasn't for us. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, and vice versa. So, I mean, hey, that's what Legacy League's about. It's a big family. Run TMC comes out on top, beating the Syndicate 85-78. Wait, that is last year's finals. Because I was looking at KT's stats in the All-Star game last year, and KD didn't show up. Wouldn't be a post game without that. But also, if you're still listening right now, you're honestly, you are the real MVP. But for me, Greg Horne, Connor, Joey, Run TMC on top, and we're out.